relativist se legăna pe o pânză de păianjen și pentru că nu se rupea a mai chemat un invitat.
But I like starting with a prayer. Can I do a prayer myself?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Okay. So Sara, you're an Iranian?
Yeah, technically I'm an Iranian Romanian because my mom is Romanian and my father is Iranian. But my mom has become part of Persian culture. She speaks Persian, cooks Persian, and yeah, she cooks Persian better than a lot of other Persian women. So.
Does she like Persian more than Romanian?
I mean, she's definitely quite good with speaking Persian, considering that she has never learned it formally. I sometimes try to correct her grammar, but she's not a huge grammar freak like I am. My ascendant is Virgo, so maybe that makes me
You're a
more
grammar
of a
freak?
perfectionist. Yeah, I'm a huge grammar freak.
Okay, then I should be very careful with my...
With your English grammar? No, it's cool. No worries. I might correct you though. I mean, if we weren't on camera, I would definitely correct you.
Yeah, you can do it on camera. I pride myself on being like a C plus on English, so I'm not gonna mind your instructions on that.
Cool. It's always good to keep track, but we shouldn't get too lost in grammar, right? Rumi has a story in the Masnavi, in the 6-volume masterpiece of rhyming couplets. And the story is about a grammarian who was traveling on a boat with a mystic. And the mystic, he was maybe in an ecstatic state and he made a serious grammatical mistake. And the grammarian corrected him. And then, he admonished the mystic upon not learning enough grammar. And he said, "You wasted half your life because you haven't learned proper grammar." Well, they proceed, the journey goes on. They're in the middle of the ocean, sailing on this boat, and all of a sudden a storm erupts. And the grammarian is really scared. And the mystic asks him, "Well, haven't you learned how to swim?" And the grammarian says, "No, I was too busy learning grammar my whole life." Well, the mystic says, "Your whole life is wasted because look, we're sinking." So, so let's not get there, in the position of basically dedicating our lives to theoretical knowledge, to the knowledge of grammar or any other theoretical science, and lose the essential knowledge, which is the knowledge of self. Because, as it says in our tradition, whoever knows themselves knows God, basically. So there's this intertwining between, the self and the divine. And that's what differentiates mystics from regular, ordinary theologians or religious people. Because the mystic believes that our essence is divine, that we are a drop from the ocean, basically, and we are, co-substantial with the ocean. And a regular, ordinary believer, most likely, if they care about that at all, they believe that we are mere creations of God and we don't really bear the eternal spark of His essence within us. We are just, creations, and we're here to take the test of our earthly lives and see if we pass or fail, and, then we'll be placed in our heavenly abode, and that's it. But the mystic believes that we have layer upon layer upon layer of personality and, our subtle bodies, and then we have the essence, which is like a pearl of pure divine splendor, of pure essence. So that's at the core of our being. And that's what the mystics are seeking. That's what the Sufis are seeking, and basically all the mystics across all traditions. So all the mystics have a common language. They have a shared field. If we were to bring a Muslim mystic and then a Jewish mystic, that's controversial, right? But I believe so. And a Christian mystic and a Hindu mystic all together in a room, they would have so much more in common than a dogmatic Shia and a dogmatic Sunni if you put them in a room together. Maybe they will start a jihad. I'm allowed that joke because I'm Muslim.
Okay, like
Yeah.
that. So you say there is like, I want to go back to because you made an important point when you said about that grammar guy who lost and he got drowned, because he didn't know how to swim, because he put energy in that theoretical knowledge, the language.
Yeah, well, exactly.
So if you have that's a thing that most people don't understand, and I see that where are you putting your energy on? If you have 24 hours a day, if you're gonna pray for 5 hours, maybe you're gonna get closer to God. But if you're praying 3 minutes and then you're watching TV, you're not gonna get to God. It's no.
So unfortunately, there's this dichotomy between the spiritual world and the material world that most people fall into. And that's the conditioning of our churches, our mosques, and our religious institutions. Because, our very ordinary existence is constantly permeated by the sacred. But we don't really see that because we were taught that God is somewhere sitting on his throne and he's so far away and distant and transcendent and away from our ordinary human existence. But actually, behind every thought and every emotion, there is existence. And this very existence is the essence of the divine, right? So God is absolute existence, the underlying existence behind all, right? He's the light of the heavens and the earth, as it says in the Quran. He is who he is. I am that I am, as it says in the Torah. And he is the beginning and the end, the Alpha and the Omega. So, of course, he's everywhere, permeating every moment of our lives. And I believe we are so separate and disconnected from him because that's how we feel, because we don't really include God in our ordinary existence. We ignore him. We are not with him. He is with us all the time, in every breath, every heartbeat, every thought, even the thoughts that we don't like, Those are also waves upon the ocean, and this ocean is pure absolute existence, right? So that's also part of the beloved's many faces and manifestations. But we were taught to reject things, we were taught to constantly exclude, deny, reject. And I feel that the return to God is a return to the all-encompassing, all-inclusive nature of this essence that pervades all, if that makes sense. So for example, in Sufism, we believe that it's essential to find God in the midst of our day-to-day lives, yeah? So, blessed is the one who's not distracted from the remembrance of God in the middle of the bazaar, during the act of buying and selling, even. That's what the Quran says, I'm paraphrasing. So, it is here in our everyday life, while doing all the human chores that we're doing, while having our everyday interactions and, going to the bazaar of this world, it's here that we can see the manifestations and messages and signs of God. And we will show them our signs on the horizons and within themselves, says the Quran, until they know that they are seeing the truth. So if we look closely and we pay attention, we can see the signs of God everywhere. We don't actually need to go somewhere. We don't need to, spend 5 hours in meditation away from the world if we learn to see the world for what it truly is, which is this sacred ground of divine self-expression.
So you wanted to point out that part, that you don't have to do 5 hours of meditation. That's what you focused on my phrase.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I wanted to emphasize. I don't think such spiritual endeavor is required necessarily, because that would isolate one from the world. And then, I think you can get to the ultimate destination through many pathways. There are as many paths to God as there are souls in creation. So yeah, this ascetic path is suitable, or this contemplative path is adequate for some people, yeah? For people who have this nature of practicing a lot of meditation and basically becoming immersed in this act of contemplation, and that's what works for them. It's perfectly fine. But then eventually, although they like to stay absorbed in their own sanctuary of solitude, they will be sent here. They will be sent to help. Just like the Prophet Muhammad, after he returned from his Miraj, from his ascension journey through the 7 heavens, after having reached the throne of God, after having tasted the nectar of divine knowledge and wisdom, he had to return and bestow that nectar, bestow those gifts upon creation. So we also have to return, we at some point we have to come out of our little cave and shine our light into the world, or rather let the light of God shine through with our own unique hue, with our unique nuance, and bring into the world whatever we are meant to ground here, into the fabric of humanity. So I don't think the solution is to go somewhere high up in the mountains. I believe the solution is to bring the sacred mountain into the here and now, and turn the world into our temple of spiritual practice and contemplation.
Yeah, but that's not what I'm referring to. So, like you said, the grammar guy, he's going to focus a lot of his life on speaking correctly and making the logical choices correctly, grammarly, But he's going to lose time doing that. He's going to lose energy doing that. And from that story, you said, the guy is drowning, really drowning, because he doesn't know how to swim, because he lost too much time on that grammar, when he should have learned how to swim, which was much more important to him. That's what I'm saying with God, the analogy that people think that you have to develop some kind of language with God, or with the world, or with the reality, or with other people. You have to put that energy on that, put that emphasis on that energy, because you're not gonna. That's what this bothers me all the time when I go to a church, or I go to a meeting and I see people praying together, but they aren't connected, because they let 10% of their energy on the surface, and 90% they are in other places, and they do it just to do it. You have to put 100% of your
Absolutely,
energy.
yeah. I agree with that, sure.
What?
You remind me of an aunt. I have an aunt in Iran, and she does her prayers so rapidly. So I pray one unit, and then she prays 2, and then I pray another one, and she's done with the prayer, And then I'm like, wow, mashallah, when did she have time to read the Quran, then to do the movements, because Have you ever seen Muslims praying? We do some ritual movements in the prayer, like prostrations and so on. And I'm like, wow, she's definitely good with her body, right? At her age, it's really admirable. But then, I used to have someone in the family, she passed away now, but she, whenever she was praying, she had her own code of trying to convey that, oh, the rice is burning, or, oh, you need to shut the stove down because the water has boiled, or stuff like that. So she had like various hand signs that she was showing to people while she was praying, because we're not allowed to interrupt the prayer, So she found this coded language, and she was always like gesturing with her hands, and I was feeling something's going on. I was like, what is she doing,
So what was she was like praying at some point she would do
And at some point she would do
fingers.
stuff with her fingers, and we were like, what is she trying to say? Oh, she's trying to say that we should like turn off the stove, or that the rice is burning, or stuff like that, or that we should add water to the food,
Well,
Yeah. So exactly, people are not really focusing their energy on prayer, and then we're like, oh, we're not getting any spiritual benefits or results from going to church, or from doing our prayers, or from doing our daily meditations. But that's simply because we don't really have enough attention. That's true, I agree with you.
it's an important point to make, because I don't think people understand. Like your aunt, maybe it would have been better if the stove was caught on fire, Maybe, who knows what kind of revelation she could have gotten spiritually by all this stuff happening. But she was trying to control that whole environment. That's the opposite of being spiritual, when you try to control I have to control the kids, they are young, they're gonna do stuff.
Balance, balance. Balance is the key word. We have a proverb in our tradition. It says, rely on God, but tie your camel. So.
What does that mean? Okay.
There was a Bedouin who went to the Prophet, and he was like, look, Prophet, I'm having so much tawakkul, so much reliance on God, that I left my camel untied, and I put my trust in God, and I'm absolutely certain that she's not going to run away. And the Prophet looks at him, and he's like, yes, mashallah, good, rely on God, but do tie your camel. So put your trust in God, but also be cautious, right? So take all the necessary precautions in this world, whatever you can do as a human being to the best of your ability, to put things in order in your life, right?
Yeah,
But do trust in God with the outcome.
We have a Romanian saying similar kind of to that. It is like, God gives you, but it doesn't put it in the bag. Like it gives you, but you have to.
Oh yeah, I get it. Yeah, I get it.
Kind of similar, like philosophically, to what you're saying. Yeah, but that's what I think. This kind of sayings, like when you think about that, like you said, your aunt, she's having more to think.
She wasn't really relying on God, although she did tie the camel.
Or she was focused on the camel.
She was more focused on the camel than on God.
Wow.
But yeah, it's okay. I cannot judge her. God knows what's in her heart. Maybe she discovered something else upon leaving this world. I don't know.
I think it's good that you judge her. It's important for you, because you have to, at some point in our adult life, I think we should focus on ourselves, and don't believe that much what older people are telling us. Because
Yeah, discernment is key. And also, we are here to break the chains of the past generations. I mean, the recurrent behavior patterns and the recurrent belief patterns that are passed on to us by previous generations. We have a sacred duty to set ourselves free, and the future generations as well. So yeah, we are here to break free from their ancestral chains, but we're also here to honor their heritage, I believe. It's like a tree, that draws the liquid of life through the roots and then transmutes that into something far more beautiful and broader and vaster. So we are drawing upon the fountain of life and wisdom from our ancestors, and of course we imbue it with our own uniqueness and with our own sacred purpose and direction, and we redirect that energy towards the fulfillment of our highest purpose.
No, I was just hypnotized by your melodic way of talking.
That's lovely. Yeah, that's part of my Persian heritage, I think. Most Iranians have this very musical
Really?
way of talking because Persian is a very musical language, it's a very rhythmical, poetic language, and it's fluid like the alphabet, you know.
So how is like a conversation between two Persians? It starts like a song, or you have like lyrics to it?
I mean, it depends on the nature of the conversation, obviously, but it's much more juicy. It has a lot of
It's fruitful,
sweetness.
no?
Yeah, it's sweet. You know, we have a lot of words, for example, that have the word heart inside them, like compound words. You know, for example, dilneshin means something that settles upon the heart, as in something lovable, likable. Dilchasp means something that sticks to the heart, again, something attractive, likable. Dilnavaz means something that caresses the heart, and again, it means something pleasant, attractive. Dilroba, something that steals away the heart, and again, it means something fascinating, captivating.
But it's the letters also, no? Like the navaz, it sounds.
Dilnavaz, yeah, it sounds, you see, the V and the A. Yeah.
Like goes into you like a snake. Is the navaz? It's like.
Oh, I like
no?
your pronunciation. That's great. Yeah, it's like the wings of a butterfly. Yeah, but I mean, every language has its beauty, and I'm sure the native speakers of each language can find a lot of beauty and comfort in their mother tongue. So let's ask our viewers, what is the beauty of your native language, wherever you may be watching us from?
They're gonna give you like very weird answers, like very weird. Like my audience is as weird or weirder than me, you know. So
Wow, that's a difficult one. That's a difficult record to break.
But what is like your favorite Persian word?
Wow, okay, that's a good one. I like the word mehr.
Mehr?
M-E-H-R, mehr.
Meh.
Mehr means sun, love, and it also means kindness. And it's also the name of an ancient pre-Islamic deity. So it means love, light or sunlight, kindness, and a mysterious pre-Islamic deity. It's a very beautiful word.
When
and-
did you hear it first time?
I don't know, in my childhood. It's a regular word. It's a usual word. We use it in our language all the time. It's one of those ancient words that survived from like thousands of years ago, and we're still using them currently. We have several words like that. But the form of Persian that we're currently speaking has been around for 1,000 to 300 years. So if you're familiar with history, maybe, you know that at some point Arabs invaded Iran, the Persian Empire. And now I'm not sure to what extent, like, of course there was corruption in the Persian government back then, but also the Arabs started to become corrupt after the passing away of the Prophet, obviously. And I'm not going to get into the controversy, but what I can say is that eventually the language was hugely impacted because obviously the Arabs came with a demand to only speak their language, especially on the administrative and intellectual levels, and people started writing Arabic, issuing laws in Arabic, teaching in Arabic. So for several centuries that are called the centuries of silence, Persian was literally forbidden. And then gradually, revivers like Ferdowsi, the great poet, who wrote the epic Shahnameh, the poem of kings. They came and revived the Persian language by writing in pure Persian. So, for example, Ferdowsi wrote his masterpiece by only using 90% Persian words. And then those words mingled with Arabic, and the language that we are currently using emerged. Yeah, so we sometimes, for example, have an Arabic word and a Persian word defining the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so we have a Persian like original word, and then we also have a borrowed Arabic word that obviously has integrated very well in the language, and it's very deeply embedded now. So even some people cannot tell the difference, like recognize which word is originally Persian and which word is Arabic.
So the language is still it's still alive. Like
The language is very much alive, yeah. Mm-hmm. And of course, the older forms of Persian are quite different, so we cannot really understand those at the moment, like the Persian that was spoken 2,000 years ago, for example, during the times of Jesus, when the Magi came from Iran to bring gifts to Jesus, to honor Jesus. So do you know that the Magi were Iranian Zoroastrian priests? That's where we have the word magic. Magic comes from Muk, from Muqan, which is the name of the Zoroastrian priests. And then Magi is the Greek version, because obviously they didn't have the letter Re, so they phonetically changed the word, and that's where we derive the word magic.
So magi is from the magic, the Persian magic word, no?
From Muqan, yeah, from the title of the Zoroastrian priests. So
hold on. So
yeah.
this is a complicated topic. Like they, like Arabic people, no, conquered some Persian locations. They assimilated the culture.
They took a lot from Persian culture, yeah, including the whole administrative model, because Persians obviously were very experienced administrators. They have been taking care of their empire for 1,000 or 2,000 years. So yeah.
Well, the Great Britain now conquered like half of the world in the past, you know, and English now is spoken by everybody, even peasants who don't go to school, like who don't have access to it, know English now. So everybody knows like a little English, at least a couple of words. And I actually enjoy this language. I think it's gotten the best from every culture. So I don't really mind that thing that when people destroy other cultures and the language disappears, you know. I want a universal language for people to understand each other, but I think the thing that this thing loses by assimilating, we don't understand the original meaning of the words. And knowing magic and religion, you have to know the exact phonetic descriptions and how it's written. It's not okay to how do you say, to equivalent it, you know, it's not the same, like you say.
Transliterate it, for example.
Exactly, yeah.
Because you cannot transliterate the exact phonetics. Yeah, I mean, we have that. When we recite the Quran, it has to be very accurate. It has to be very phonetically accurate.
Because you can't get to the incantation, no? If you don't know exactly the...
Because you want to pronounce as closely as possible for many reasons. One of the reasons, obviously, the exoteric reason is textual preservation. And then the esoteric, so the hidden reason, is obviously hitting the right resonant chord, so to speak. So attuning yourself to the right frequency so that you can benefit from the spiritual realities of the Quran or the whatever sacred text you are reading.
So words are whole frequencies. Like it has a gamma of frequencies. Like
Yeah, they're like doorways, definitely. Yeah.
Okay, because I think that's very important that you say that, because most people don't understand that when you do like a prayer, you have to, for it to work, you have to know the actual words, like the whole, the old Hebrews have like, they know the secret meanings of the words, and they have like words that they don't share with others because they have to keep it secret. And people become Jewish, you know, and they try to understand how to do those sayings, but they don't know the exact words because they don't have access to it. No?
Well, I mean, every tradition has its secrets, but then I think, you know, apart from that, so I'm not trying to diminish the importance of correct pronunciation here, a pure intention, so a sincere heart burning with longing is enough sometimes. You know, although you might not really have the right words or not have the right pronunciation or not even be able to read Arabic, you still, if you really yearn for God and you come with a very sincere open heart and you just come with an empty vessel and you knock at the door of the beloved, they will open.
Yeah, but that's not, let me give you a dance example, okay? So if I do like a hip hop movement and I'm gonna try to say something, you see my hands are giving a beat, but it's like here in the middle of my body, no? But if I'm trying a ballet movement, like I move my legs and my arms, you see I use my whole body and I'm open to the whole environment. So even if the intention could be like the same, like in rapping, I want to say, I want to be good, I want to do this, I want to, and it's the same intention, like if I do this. But in reality, like if I do this, it opens other areas. No?
I get you. It's just, you know, you're talking from the perspective of an audience who sees your movements, yeah, and they can assume your intention.
Even if in I think it's all connected. Even like in music, like the ballet music is very continuum.
Yeah.
It continues all the time. It doesn't have like breaks.
Yeah.
And city music has a lot of breaks and I did that, and I found that, and it breaks all the time. It doesn't continue. So that's what I'm saying, like you were talking about, you have the intention, no? The exact intention. It can get to that effect. But if you know like the word, but you don't know how to pronounce it, you don't know what it means, you don't know how to do it, it's not going to have the same effect. Because you have to have like immense purity of heart to get that same effect. You have to have like deep, profound feeling. Because it's like when you...
What if you utter the words without having any feeling? It'll just be an empty vessel. I know Quran readers who can read Quran in a very beautiful way, but they don't understand the word from what they're reading. So they might have all the pronunciation right. You know Bilal, he was the first person who gave the azan, the call to prayer. Whatever you're hearing from the minarets in mosques, if you travel to Iran or Egypt or Turkey or any Muslim country, basically. So he was the first. He was an Abyssinian. He was a black person whose native language was not Arabic. So obviously he couldn't pronounce all the sounds correctly. So he was saying something else because he couldn't say Hayya ala salah. He said Hayya ala salah, and that's very different. But the Prophet, he wanted Bilal to give the call to prayer all the time, and Rumi says that Bilal's pronunciation holds immense energy of life because it came from a place deep within his heart and because it was infused with his purity of heart and belief, and it like came from the fire within his being. And so I believe that if a person might pronounce something wrongly, but they have all the right intentions, the intention is definitely more significant and more powerful than the word itself. But then obviously if someone has the word, like the proper pronunciation and the proper intention, then obviously that's even better.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You have to have like both the intention and also the correct. It's better. Ideally, because it's like a 16-year-old kid who tries to do good. You know, he helps a bum on the street and he says like, "Man, I did like such a great thing. Like I helped this guy get some food and some money." And in his head, and his intention was pure. Like he wanted to do something good, but he could have done much better if he had the knowledge of what good really is. You know what I'm. You understand what I'm like. The intention is. I completely agree. Is the most important thing, but we don't actually know the languages are disappearing like by decades. You know, they are going more extinct, and we're not gonna know the original words, which are very important. Like the Bible. Now we have here the Bible, which is like the whole European, very important book.
Sure.
It's, every decade it's rewritten, retranslated. Nobody knows, even because they try to adapt it to the modernity, you know. And if it's like 50 years, you're gonna have like feedback.
Yeah, and unfortunately, at every translation, depending on the trends in theology, they're subtracting something, or maybe rewriting something, or making a little adjustment here and there, which shouldn't really be done within a sacred text. But then, obviously, the truth has this way of making itself known, and the truth is always self-revealing. So, you know, when I read the Gospels, I always find something that touches my heart, because the grain of truth and the seed of life are still there somewhere if we look deep enough. And obviously if we could pray in the original language of Jesus, it would be much more powerful. Hence we, in our tradition, in the Sufi and Islamic tradition, we preserve the Quran and the sacred texts in the original language. So obviously they contain the resonance of the original primordial revelation. And you know, when I read the Lord's Prayer in Aramaic, for example, I can feel Jesus walking barefoot on the streets of ancient Palestine, and it's as if, you know, I'm hearing him recite the Lord's Prayer rhythmically, chanting as he moves and, you know, blesses people. And it's just this direct connection through that lineage of disciples and souls who actually knew him, and that memory and that resonance inscribed in the planetary consciousness field. So yeah, that's why I resonated so deeply with the Aramaic version of the Lord's Prayer. And that prayer is so universal. So every Christian obviously can pray, but then I think every Muslim person can pray this, and every Jewish person could pray this, because there's nothing theologically specific in that prayer. It's like Al-Fatiha, the beginning chapter of the Quran. It's so universal. It addresses the heart of every believer. It doesn't carry specific theological content. As a Muslim, I'm perfectly fine praying that. And so, yeah, I could recite the prayer in Aramaic. We could actually end with that, so we can continue the conversation for
I'm
a bit.
gonna remember that.
Yeah, you can remind me to recite the prayer at the end, because it's always powerful to read a prayer in the original language.
But I want to dance to it. Can I dance to it? Like do in the last couple of months, like I get to these events where people are spinning around and they are trying to connect to something, and I think I could have fun. Maybe I could connect to your Arabic words.
Okay, I guess. So I obviously empathize with the idea of whirling because I'm a whirling dervish. So I practice the whirling dance.
Oh, yeah, so there is a dance.
There is a whirling dance, yeah, and there is this beautiful tradition going back to Rumi. It's an 800-year-old lineage, and obviously men were mostly exposed to the public as representatives of this tradition, but there are also women, mostly behind the veils, obviously due to the historical context. They weren't seen that much. But now there are women who are stepping into the light and performing the whirling dance for the public. And whenever I do it, I feel my women ancestors surrounding me in a circle of whirling lights, and it's like they are unveiling themselves and revealing themselves through me as I whirl. It's like bringing healing to all those women who had to stay behind the veils and couldn't really make themselves seen or heard. And I always invite them to join me and we can whirl together. So that's a powerful act of ancestral healing, transgenerational healing, if you wish. Yeah, as I was saying, it's always beautiful to honor the memory of our ancestors. It's uplifting and we have a lot to learn, and we also have a lot to give. And it's this process of receiving, becoming rooted, and then growing and blossoming and spreading our own unique fragrance throughout creation. So it's like the universe is a huge garden, and each individual is the rose at the center of the garden, and we're just being there and sharing our perfume, sharing our uniqueness and our own specific brilliance with the world. And the passers-by can look at the rose, they can contemplate its essence, they can feel the fragrance, they can rejoice in her presence, or they can just ignore her and move on. And sometimes, people choose to ignore a rose when they see it because they're just not in the right state of mind and heart to acknowledge it and honor it. And sometimes they actually acknowledge it. And this is what I usually say to women that I work with, because obviously there's a lot of heavy energy, let's say, there's a lot of heavy emotional load on our lineages as women. For example, I come from a lineage of Middle Eastern women who couldn't always be seen, who couldn't always speak their truth, yeah. But this is not the case only in the Middle East. The feminine has been concealed under the veils for too long, and now it's the time to let her speak up and express herself. I mean, the sacred feminine, right? And this is not a feminist extremist statement. Obviously, she is in a relationship of equality and partnership and balance with the sacred masculine. But what I'm trying to say here, and this is why I gave the metaphor of the rose in the center of the garden of the universe, what I'm trying to convey is that if we are not seen, if we are not, honored for our own uniqueness, then it means the environment is not the most adequate for us to bloom. But then some flowers can always find the strength to bloom in the desert, and that's why we have roses in the desert blooming sometimes. It's rare, but it happens.
So you say there are flowers that don't need observation from other energies, they can just blossom even in the desert? That was the final.
Yeah, there are flowers. So what I was trying to say is that basically if one of the passersby in your life doesn't take a moment to contemplate and acknowledge your uniqueness, it's their loss. And that works on both sides. So if I, don't really take the time to look into someone's essence, I'm the one losing a moment of true authentic connection.
Yeah, but maybe
But-
you don't have maybe you want to be admired, and you can't do it both at the same time.
I think you can. I think you can.
So if there are two roses next to each other, and
That's it. We're all roses next to each other in the huge garden of the universe. Each of us is a rose, like the flower of life pattern, Each center of the flower is its own center. It's like a pattern with many centers. The center is everywhere. You know the flower of life pattern?
no, you mean like in the old cultures, like
Flower of
in
life,
the Indian,
the sacred
the
geometries.
lotus,
No. So if you research the flower of life, you're going to see what I mean. So it's a flower with 6 petals that's in turn connected to another flower with 6 petals, and it just goes on like that. It's a fabric.
Yeah, I think I know what you're saying.
So yeah, what I was trying to say is that I think I just lost the thread of that idea, but basically, yeah. So if the passerby doesn't notice you, then obviously they're at a loss. But then also, if the environment is not the right one for you to bloom, then remember that there are roses who can bloom in the desert. And you can always imbue the world around you with your nectar and your sweetness and your fragrance. So, of course, that's mostly for women viewers. The metaphor maybe will be more appealing to
Why is that?
the inner feminine. I don't know, because maybe women like roses more than guys do.
Really, you believe that? No, we love roses.
You love roses.
I don't know. I can't speak for many men, but I love roses. I always. love them.
MashaAllah. Okay.
It's like the whole romantic tradition in Europe is with we go with the rose to.
The Sufi
lady.
tradition loves roses. Like we use them as symbols all the time. The rose and the nightingale. The nightingale that falls in love with the rose, and then the rose as a symbol of the divine beloved.
So tell me more about the nightingale in this equation. Okay, so the nightingale.
The nightingale is a bird who has this melodious song that enlivens the heart, and she falls in love with the rose. And Hafiz, for example, has a beautiful poem about the nightingale carrying a rose petal. So she has, obviously, the rose petal is like a symbol that can be translated into the divine spark, the spark of the sacred fire at the core of the being that we discussed earlier. And so Hafiz describes how this nightingale is still singing her sweet lament, her heart-tearing lament, although she's carrying this rose petal. And he's asking her, Hafiz is asking her, what's the matter with you? You are in a state of union with your beloved, and still you are singing this song. You're crying out with this sweet lament of longing. And the nightingale responds, that sounds very cryptic. She says, the manifestation of the beloved keeps me in that state. What do you get from that? Well, the traditional interpretation is that, although we are in a state of being ever united with God, with the Supreme Beloved, we are here to pretend we're not. We're here to experience the illusion of separation, this ever unfolding dance of life and multiple expressions of the one, just in order to enjoy the love story, this eternal love story.
So what's the point to pretend when we can have like the real thing and we're just to feel the importance of it all? Like, so you can find light, you have to go to the dark and just. I mean, what's the point of like?
I don't know. You should ask God. Don't ask me.
Well, maybe
I
you
sometimes
have
ask him
another
that
answer.
question. I ask him that question too. So from what I could gather, it's so much more enriching like that, in some weird way.
Do you actually believe that?
Yeah, I do.
You believe it now, but in 10 minutes you're probably not gonna believe that. You're gonna be like,
I mean, so yeah, so I was talking to my husband the other day, and he was telling me, you know, about the layer upon layer of multiple dimensions in the subtle realm. So we were discussing about that, and we were like, okay, so when the soul journeys, when they depart from this world, they journey through various levels of existence, let's say, and you know, these levels become more and more abstract as you ascend on the ladder, on the heavenly ladder, let's say, yeah. So you might have this ethereal landscape. At a certain level, you might have like the gardens of Eden or paradise with the water of life and, you know, ever fresh, radiant blossoms. And then as you ascend, you have sorry.
no, don't worry.
I speak a lot at work. My throat is, I apologize.
Okay.
You can cut that one, right?
I could, but I don't mind the quietness in the podcast and the guests and I don't speak. I actually enjoy that moment for the viewers. Maybe the viewer has his individual thought, you know, he has to think about something we said, and he has to think, but if you're going to talk all the time, he's not going to have the time to actually think because he was going to be trying to be polite and be attentive to your discourse, you know. Imagine you.
I would still like you to cut that out.
Ah, okay.
Thank you. So, let's get back. So, I was saying that, you know, you have like these beautiful resplendent gardens, heavenly gardens, and blossoms and trees, and then as you move upwards, right? So to higher levels, let's say, of existence, you have more abstract imagery because it's closer to the essence, right, to the source of all form. So obviously form becomes less dense. So you have, for example, ethereal, multifaceted, intricate, complex geometric patterns. They're more abstract, right? And then you have like rivers of liquid light, and you have like iridescent, you know, clouds and swirling vortexes of multicolored light, yeah, and that's all so magnificent. That's the unfolding of the one. But then as you get to the essence, you get to this little point, to this little spot that's so small, and then when you enter it, you realize it's infinitely big, and it's just you. It's you, but it's not you. It's you, but it's everywhere. It's you, but then it's also everything else, and it's just this beingness. And you don't have the cascades, you don't have the fields, you don't have the spheres, you don't have the, you know, multifaceted, complex geometric patterns. You don't have any of that. You just have this spaciousness, this vastness. So that's like the essence that's not yet manifest, right? So
I
there's
don't
no
know.
shadow and no light, there's no up, there's no down, there's no left, there's no right, there's no depth, there's no height. So that's beautiful, that's marvelous, and that's also tedious.
Tedious.
Don't you think so?
I would never think that. Like, maybe
I'm joking.
No,
I'm really joking.
you're not joking. You're saying your real opinion about that. Oh, but why?
Yeah, and it's not necessarily boring. It's just it can be beautiful. But what I'm trying to say is, if we were to look from that standpoint, I totally understand God's desire for self-expression. It's like, why would this writer make up all these characters who are not really there? You know, they're just, let's say, alter egos or aspects of his consciousness, or you know, his way of self-expression. Why would he create all of that? Why?
But who says God created that?
I absolutely believe God created that.
Maybe there are a lot of gods.
There's absolutely no question about that. I'm being very firm about my beliefs. I mean, you're free to believe whatever you want. But I believe that God created this universe. And I also somehow believe in, you know, some form of evolution. I don't think we evolved from monkeys or anything like that. I believe in evolution, though, in a form or another.
What kind of evolution?
So I believe that life here on Earth basically evolved. And at some point, that's my personal belief, I usually don't discuss that. At some point when life was ready, when the vessel was ready, there was some intervention from the divine, and that's when basically God blew his ruh, his spark, his spirit into us. That's what I believe. So that's a very personal belief, which is not very orthodox in whatever tradition you want to put it. But Rumi has this poem, you know, he says, I was a mineral, and I died to the mineral, and I became a plant, and I died to the plant, and I became an animal. And then I also died to the animal state, and I became a human being. And then I died from the human being state, and then he includes this reflection, why should I fear death? When has death ever diminished me? So then,
how many years did Rumi live?
that's a good question.
He lived a lot, I think, no?
I think he reached 80, if I'm not mistaken.
So it's hard to believe a guy who says he doesn't fear death, but he wanted to postpone death a lot, no? You know, like Hafiz, I think, died younger than that, no?
I don't think he wanted to postpone death. I think, you know, God is the giver of life and the taker of life. So I think we all, it's maktub, it's written. We go when we have to go.
What did maktub mean?
It means written.
Written.
It's written. Yeah, I think it's written.
No, but there are a lot of religious leaders who always says this kind of stuff, like, I don't fear death, but they are always very old. They
Precisely because they don't fear death, you know.
Then embrace it. Why just stay and just...
Because they have work to do.
At 80 years old?
Absolutely. He was very conscious. At 80 years old, he was still dictating ghazals to his disciple.
Have you ever met like an interesting 80-year-old?
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah. Absolutely. A lot
It's
of
an
them.
honest question.
Even my teacher's teacher. Yeah.
Would you like to be like 80 years old?
Yeah, I mean, why not? If I'm lucid and conscious, and yeah, absolutely. Sure.
Aren't you gonna get bored with it all?
Look, if God wants me here, yeah, I'm thinking about that too. But yeah, I mean, if God wants me here, I'll be here for as long as He wants me to. And if He wants me to go, then I'll go.
So if you have like, for me this is a big question. I don't know how you report to that. Like if you have like a severe disability, like you can't walk, can't talk, can't do sex, can't eat much. Would you like to live like that?
Personally,
So you like the human experience?
no, I believe every soul has their dignity, and I don't think if that's, if you're asking me an ethical question.
No, it's like your personal opinion. I don't care if it's ethical or not.
I do. So,
Okay.
from my standpoint, if a soul is here as long as they have to be here, God knows what is going on in the inner world of that soul. We as human beings have no clue and no right to end another human being's life under any circumstances. That's my opinion. I'm against capital punishment.
But yours, not you end your life. I don't mean like.
Oh, my own. No, I don't think I have that right either, unfortunately.
So if you're not gonna have hands and feet and just no joyous experience, you will continue to live. Honestly.
Unfortunately, yeah, I would. I mean, if it were up to me, I would. If it were up to others, then I would say, guys, I don't mind leaving. I don't want to burden anyone. But if it were up to me and I could somehow miraculously sustain myself, I would do my best as long as God wants me in this body. And then when God wants me to go away, I would be like, finally.
Finally.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm asking
absolutely.
Because, there are diseases that in the past were not considered diseases. Like epilepsy was considered a gift from God.
Yeah, I'm aware.
And you can have like visions from that type of considered insanity. You can actually have like visions that are really important to this whole world, and
arguably, yeah.
And I think this culture nowadays of the disease, if you have like you're diabetical or you have cancer, and you see like the bad thing about that, but you can see like the metamorphosis, like the transformation you get. Like I think everything is an opportunity and a disaster at the same time,
I believe so, yeah. I believe there's always a gift. There's always a gift concealed beneath dark garments, as one of my teachers used to say.
What?
Because he used to say there's always a blessing underneath black garments. So it's like this luminous, blessing that's disguised in dark clothes, like an illness or disability or loss. Yeah, I believe, although it might sound like a cliche, but there's always something to extract from that. There's always a source of empowerment. There's always a source of growth. And yeah, I did experience loss at a personal level, and I did experience grief. I'm in a time of grief in my life right now.
You lost somebody important?
I'm not going to share the reason, but I'm just going to say that I'm undergoing a moment of grief. I lost, someone important who was on the way.
And it's gonna affect you for a couple of years probably, It's very hard. Grief is a very hard feeling.
I think it might affect me my whole life. But it's okay. Some wounds are not really meant to heal. We're just meant to learn to live with them and turn them into a source of openness, surrender, and beneficial vulnerability. So let's end with the Aramaic Lord's Prayer.
You got emotional and you were going too deep, no? Okay, before that, let me put like the last question before we go and do the whole poetry. do you feel like, no, two questions. The
Oh.
first one, because they are superficial questions.
Okay, no
it's
worries.
not,
2, 3, whatever. Bring it on.
So, do you think Romania has like a future in spiritual awakening? Like we have, can we actually have a spirit in this whole modernity?
Yeah, I mean, every country has a future in its spiritual awakening as long as the individuals of that nation.
I am asking you as a, I'm not going to say a Sufi, but like a spiritual person.
Sure.
You're gonna feel, and I want your honest opinion. Do you think Romania is a place to be?
So, you know, obviously because I'm stranded between two cultures and two worlds, I can maybe bring a different perspective upon this country, more like an outsider. So I do believe that Romania is a lovely country with warm people, with open-hearted people, and people who haven't really lost their humanity. And I see a lot of kindness and generosity and
Everybody says that when they come to Romania. So, do you feel like in other countries no kindness or
I mean,
smaller?
there are countries where people are colder, let's say, and they are more withdrawn, they keep to themselves more. But Romanians are quite open-hearted. I'm not sure how open-minded they are, but they are definitely open-hearted. And there's this, let's say, you know, it will sound superficial, but it's like an oriental vibe here in Romania as well. You know, I don't feel like in the West, in a Western country, in a way. It's still close to the earth, it's still close to the rhythms of nature, still close to traditions somehow. And the fact that there are so many churches, I love that in Romania, it's beautiful. It's definitely uplifting to hear church bells. The other day I was walking with my husband around Uniri, and I was hearing a lot of church bells all over the place, and I was like, wow, beautiful! There's this golden dome surrounding us, mashallah, it's beautiful. And I'm the kind of person who seeks God everywhere, in a church, a mosque, a temple, a tavern, wherever. That's Sufi symbolism. That's, you know, the house of wine is a Sufi symbol. Usually it means this world, it refers to this world, like the sacred ground of human experience, the territory of sensual and sensory experience. That's what the tavern stands for in Sufi poetry. And as Hafiz says, you know, in the tavern of God, in the tavern of ruin, I see the light of God. Yeah, so technically it is a sort of divine tavern.
Hold on.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Like the house of what did you say? The house of and the tavern of destruction of the tavern.
The ruin.
Of ruin.
It's a tavern that's in ruins, basically.
Why and this is my question. Why is our language so based on double speaking, like positive and negative also, every time?
Because language is based in duality. If we were one consciousness and there were no barriers between us, there was no you and I, we wouldn't need language.
So why duality? Why always positive and negative? Like if I say I'm gonna present you a story, you're gonna find something you don't like about the story, and you're gonna punctuate that because humans do that. You know, we don't. We're always going into this paradox of positive and negative and two. It's always one and two. It's not three. It's not one. It's not four. It's two. Why is that? How is that works? Like, why is the universe
MashaAllah, you're asking all these questions. Yeah,
It's the
how
same
can I
question.
know? So I'll just answer you with the poem. It's from Omar Khayyam, the famous
Okay.
Omar Khayyam. So I'll say it in Persian first, just because I don't have an edited English translation in my mind. اسرار ازل را نه تو دانی و نه من، این حرف معما نه تو خوانی و نه من، هست از پس پرده گفتگوی من و تو، چون پرده برافتد نه تو مانی و نه من. Neither you nor I know the primordial mystery of the universe. Neither you nor I can solve this enigma or answer this question, however you want to render it. The conversation between you and I resounds from behind the veil or behind the curtain. But when the veil is lifted, there shall remain neither you nor I. So now,
Okay.
let's end with the Lord's Prayer in Aramaic, and I'm going to chant it the way I feel maybe Prophet Jesus, peace be upon him, would have chanted it 2,000 years ago on the streets of Palestine. I apologize in advance for my voice. I don't have musical training. I just sing for God. Abun Rishaya Nifqad Ishmach Tidei Malkutach Negui Sabionach I cannot